something amazing happened in Melbourne, and I think somebody who is in the comments knows about it. Well, a lot of people do, but basically, I had a Frenchie level kick out of a show. I never thought that would happen because mine are more or less just a lecture. A lecture with occasional pictures of me and my friends naked spliced in between to make you pay attention to the lecture. Having said that, I am really underselling it. Tickets available at Perth. Check me out now for a night of yucks and also me cobbling together conspiracy theories that are 2,000 years old. Now, there was someone, I've just got to find their name here. Sabrine Yassine. I'm sure it's Sabrine. Sabrine. Sorry about that. We'll just go with that. Sabrine, can you send me that footage? She apparently filmed the whole thing, but there was this one extremely drunk chick in the show that had to get forcibly taken out because of how much of a nuisance she was, her and her friend. So they got booted out, and apparently she filmed the whole thing. True story. Anyway, it was a lot more impressive than what I'm currently selling it right now, because I just wanted to get that out there and to say that tickets are available at Perth. And then I will be advertising to you again at the end of the show. Sign up to Jordan Shanks if you like these videos. That is more important than the show. For me anyway, because it's a steady stream of income. For you, I'm just leeching off you, frankly. But do it anyway. For me, old leechy. Well, the point that I'd like to get across here is while I was at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, I came across a couple of shows where, let's be honest, they, how do I put this lightly, were worse than having my cock chopped off. If I had to go and watch that again, and someone said, you can chop your dick off, you can re-sew it back together, of course, if you can get it on ice quick enough, I'll be like, I'm taking the chances, bring on that pain. It was less cringy than these shows. Having said that, Dave Hughes, absolutely not in that category, funny as fuck, because as always, he sounded like the cross between a low-income meth head and gay hairdresser he is, and had the haircut of a lesbian as well. And that's enough for me. Value. He also did something that was a winning habit. Now, I want to go across both of these things because there was something very insightful in one of them. And it reflected something that I saw at a previous stand-up show as well, which was an attitude where I thought, oh, that's why you suck. That's why there's not that many people here. And that's why there's heaps of people at Dave Hughes' show. And one of those winning habits was that after the show, he comes out like the 1800s lumberjack that he looks like. Sorry, that's too nice on him, coal miner. He looks like an 1800s coal miner that figured out what Dove moisturizer is. And so he still has this extremely leathery face that is well looked after, like a leather couch in a gentleman's club. That is his face, and those are his hands, I can assure you, after shaking them. I said I don't want to get a photo, and neither did Miss, who was there. But we did want to shake his hand and say, that was awesome. You've still got it after all these years. Easy. And he said, yeah, thanks, mate, yeah. Shook our hands, and I was like, that is the grip of a man that should have never been famous. Never. That man should have been one of those guys that is on the other side of a trench throwing back and forth a grenade from the Ottoman side of the trench to ours, and one day the Russian roulette is going to turn on him and, that's the end of me. Check me out in heaven, guys. The grenades back then sort of looked like mics. That should have been the closest he ever got to showbiz. And yet he is probably the most famous man in Australia, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, he is from a different generation. I don't mess with you people. I try and stay away from you because you're all infected with COVID and are filthy, even though I've gotten COVID myself, in case you haven't figured out. Check it out on Jordan Shanks. That was a freebie, by the way. That's how much I love you. Sign up to the paid stuff. But he was stopping after every show and shaking hands with everyone, and you could tell that it was a business maneuver in his mind. I don't do it anymore because there's always a couple of freaks at the end of the show. And those freaks are scary, but he puts up with the freaks. Actually, I think that his audience is a lot more normie than mine. A lot of HR managers there, a lot of, not doing anything better tonight, just had some drinks, there's a couple of tickets there, why not? Let's cap the night on a high. Whereas there are people in mine that are like, I've gotten every shirt you've ever gotten. I'm like, that's great, I don't even remember all the shirts I've made. But, Anyway, he does it because he knows that people are going to tell their friends that I met Dave Hughes, like I'm doing right now. You can't not. He does that at the end of every show. He does 3 shows a night, absolute workhorse. Does breakfast radio, that's 3 hours a day, and then does 3 shows, and then does what, 80 TV shows? The man is constantly working. There is a habit there, and he doesn't want to fall off, and this is the advantage from growing up poor. I know from experience as well. It's just that I don't have the same... I would be doing that if I was doing comedy in the 90s, but I realize that this is a far more effective tool than that. But he is doing that because of the work ethic instilled in him from going from the shit-kicker suburbs of Adelaide to being one of the most prominent faces in the country. You don't get there by accident, and you certainly don't stay there for 30 years. In contrast, that was the working experience, right? So he went from that to that. If you also listen to him talk about the dole, he is constantly talking about what a sponge he was on the dole. Now, before everybody gets all angry and says, the dole very important. Yes, the dole is very important. Yes, it is. And it's also there as a social safety net for people who cannot do what Dave Hughes did, as in do not have the brain, have half a brain, and then need to be compensated. You deserve to get enough money to buy dog food and convince yourself that it's Oreos without the cream in the middle for the rest of your life, off of the rest of society. That's fine. You deserve to go on it regardless, but here's the difference in the caveat, right? This is the difference. You should not create an identity out of being proud of being on the dole, and you certainly shouldn't create an identity out of the fact that you are entitled to the dole. You should see that as a great privilege of being in the first world. That is a completely different argument to the societal impact of the dole. This is about your personal mindset to it. I was on it like Dave Hughes. I think that it is an incredible tool if you want to do something in the creative arts because you need time to establish yourself. So you just see it as, this is just Oz study. This is Oz study, okay? You don't see it as, I deserve money for sitting on my ass and doing nothing. You do it as, I am using this extremely meager payment so that I can get to a skill set level where I am actually paying that back and many times over. Because as a result of being on the dole for the close to a year that I was ashamed of it, and I think that that is something that you should have, because you should have a motivator of like, I am a leech. There is no real excuse for a man in his early 20s to be on the dole unless they have no legs, you know? There is always some job that is available to you. Same with women, yeah? But if you treat it as a research grant, that's the mindset that I want you to have. I want you to see it as, I'm doing this until I get this back so that I can contribute back to society later. Don't see it as, oh, this is my right. What do you mean you're reducing it? How am I supposed to live? This is the only job I could get. And I'll give you an example of this, right? There was a show that I saw, and it was pretty much about, the story was how you should feel sorry for me because I was on the dole. And this is an insight into how bad living on the dole is, which, first off, it should be. I truly do think that. It shouldn't be a comfortable existence being on the dole. It should be an existence, because we want to be motivating the people that can get off it to go and do things and be productive, right? Especially because I really do think that if you don't do that, you are cheating yourself, and you actually start looking like these people. You don't want to look like these people, yeah? They're losers to the core, the people that I'm talking about right now. Horrible people to be around. And it all comes because they have this mentality in life that society owes me. Not the winning mentality in life, which is, how do I give to society? How do I earn in my little place? You know, how do I basically be a cog in the grandfather clock that makes it go ding, ding, ding? As opposed to, where's the ding? I'm not contributing shit. Really? I mean, I'm talking about fucking nursery rhyme stuff about the chicken that baked the pie and then everybody else that didn't want to do anything, and then it was like, bake my pie. Don't be those animals is the moral of the story, just in case you aren't at that reading level, in which case you should definitely be on the dole, okay? You earn it. But, okay, so the story, the central story of both of these people was, being on the dole sucks. After a while, they were like, why the fuck are you still on the dole? Get off it. And this had nothing to do with robo-debt, by the way. This was actually just people ringing up, human beings, and saying, okay, you filed for a job, let's just say, hypothetically, because I'm not going to give away what it is to make it that specific, but I hired to intern at Google and Google rejected me. Therefore, I can't get a job at Woolworths. And then they said, okay, because you haven't even been trying, you haven't even been filling out this form, we're reducing your pay. Or we're cancelling it after these so many payments, and then you're going to have to go out and get a job. And then at that exact moment, wouldn't you believe it, both of them were able to get jobs. The problem was that they thought they were too good for the rest of the jobs, right? But this is the problem with it. They're not self-aware enough, as in they wrote entire shows about how hard done by they were by society, right? They were not self-aware enough to realise that fair call. In fact, the whole time that I was on the dole, I was thinking, I am taking the piss. I am taking the piss. And if that happened the day after and the government just went, off the teat you go, I would think, fair enough, I'm going to go stack shelves at Woolies. And the reason that I would do that is because my mentality is different. I honestly think because both of them came from upper class families and therefore they were just living off fucking family welfare their entire life. And then, the udder went dry. Where's another udder? Right? But I think working class people know, no, you kill what you eat. That is their mentality in life. And so when they are on that, they think of all of their working parents and think, fuck, dude, like they didn't really have any money and yet they're paying for me, But their mentality, I honestly do think this, coming from rich parents who had more than enough money, and then they were just like, no, you have to make it in your own in life. And they were just, oh my God, if I actually pushed it, my parents would pay for me anyway. They have that. And so they see that they think that everybody in life has like an excess amount of fat. Anyway, this is something that isn't just conducive to me as well. I'll tell you who was another successful formula when I was talking to them about it. Michael Cusack, killing it in the animation realm, was on the dole, was not proud of being on the dole, thought exactly what I thought about it, and thought the same thoughts that I thought, which is, this is just the government paying for me to get to the skill level that I need to be so that I can actually pay more in taxes. And then he went to America, so I'm not sure that he's paying any taxes in Australia. Nonetheless, proud export. And he makes fucking sick stuff. And the reason that he does is because when he was on the dole, he wasn't sitting on his ass doing nothing. He was practicing the whole time until he was good enough to get off it. That's the mentality that I'm talking about. At its core, even if you aren't on the dole, you should be in this mode the rest of your life, which is the world doesn't owe you anything. You owe the world things, and if you get anything, that is a bonus. The reason that you want this, especially if you're a man, Chris Rock summed it up really well, is that society does not reward leeches, especially if you're a man. If you do not produce, you don't get love. You have to produce. There's obviously exceptions to that in the elite class, but they get a form of family welfare and look at the fucking results of them. Little shits, all of them. Disgusting, disgraceful little shits that usually destroy and drain their family's wealth. You do not want to turn into one of these people. You don't want to turn into a leech. You want to turn into a producer. It's actually something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, which is there is really two types of people in the world. And I know that we're getting very close to, Koch brothers territory here. But this is the whole thing. They take self-help principles, things that work on an individual level, and then try and push that on a societal level because they're like, this happens in your life, right? So that's exactly the same as everybody else in society. No, this is just for you. Just for you. All the other fucking idiots in the comments that are going to be like, oh, Dad, you should read Noam Chomsky. I think I've read more than you have, dude. But anyway, sorry. Because I know what the comments are going to be. These morons that just won't be able to comprehend it. But the thing is, they're the people that I'm talking about. Leeches. There are really two types of people. You can, when it comes to this area, right? There are creators and there are consumers. And you will see the same pattern over and over again with people that are consumers, right? They have this vague idea in the back of their head that they want to become a musician, but what do they do their entire life? They sit there listening to other people's music instead of learning about music theory, learning about the greats, reading their biographies, what made them tick, what were the beliefs that they had. Instead of doing that, which is a form of production, obviously, right? Because you're upskilling. Instead of doing that, they sit there and they go, oh yeah, Korn. They're a cool band still, right? I actually do think they are. And on top of that, best decision ever, doing an album with Skrillex. How could that have gone wrong? But they do that. They sit there and they consume their entire life. And as such, they get a mentality of entitlement. Where is it? Give it to me. And in this day and age, with the immediacy of technology, I don't have to leave my house anymore. I don't even have to go to the record store to get CDs. Give it to me now. Let me listen to it for free. Give me. Give me. Me. That is the mentality of a consumer. The mentality of a creator is to be constantly being like, you like that? No? Okay. Do you like that? Yeah? Okay. $12.50. That is the mentality of a creator. Creators are the people that produce the products that the rest of the leeches consume. Now, there are obviously varyings on these spectrums, but as a general rule, the more you create in life, the more successful you will be. The more that you sit there leeching off of other people, the worse your mentality becomes. You become much more intolerable to be around. Much more intolerable. People are always looking for problem solvers. They are not looking for people that create problems for them. Yeah? Now, sign up to Jordan Shanks. Hey, I'm creating more content there, as it says at the Patreon. And I think that you should, because people that do are always writing to me telling me about how their life improves. As I said before in the previous video, people come up to me all the time saying, big Jordan Shanks fan, that's all the self-help I listen to. You look at them, you look at their expensive technology around their ears, you look at the fact that they have these NRL player quads, which I think, okay, that's a bit too much, but it's because that mentality sets you on that path. It's not the mentality that I came up with, but if it resonates with you, if my voice resonates, and I think that it should because it's pitch perfect, make sure that you sign up to Jordan Shanks for 2 videos a week. Less than a cup of coffee. It'll blow your fucking mind. It will.